Award-winning futurist researcher and keynote speaker Nikolas Badminton joining us on Canada Now. And Nick, this week we discuss apparently the surprising amount of people who are very familiar with sex robots. Well, at least according to a survey.
Yeah. So around social media, there's this survey banding around sort of saying that, a surprising number of people had actually had sex with something that could be seen as a robot, which means, it was ostensibly a sex toy that had a voice or some kind of movement that was somewhat robotic as well. So I sort of went deeper and took a look at this, and it was like, a really small, ill-defined survey. And then it was like, they use something called Mechanical Turk, which is an online platform you can get people to do work for you. And it was like a bunch of gig workers doing work, answering questions. So it kind of threw the validity out. So we're not going to talk about the stats and whatever, but, I sent it to you because I think it's really interesting to talk about, sex robots, robosexuals, and, the potential futures that we could see happening where we don't have partners that are human. We have partners that are robotic in a way.
Yeah. And there's a lot that comes with that, because there's been like some television shows that have explored this in some way. Like I think of Westworld, that has done that, but it does raise some issues. Like, one, what would this do in terms of objectification? Like, is it going to make that worse?
Well, indeed, right? I mean, objectification is really boiling it down to like, you're an object, I own you, I will use you the way that I want to use you. And something like sex robots could actually be sort of the epitome of that as well. We certainly, when we're in relationships with people, we want to tell them that we love them, that the sex that we have together is incredible and connective and all the goods and fun and the whole range of what it can be to people. But there's also something really interesting here as well, that it might not just cause objectification, it might actually give someone an ability to connect. There's a French girl years ago that 3D printed her own robot and then married it. And then there's this true story. I used to talk about this a lot a few years ago. So this girl, she married this, and like she took a lot of flack online and whatever. There's another guy called Dave Cat who's very well known, and if you go out looking on the interwebs, you'll find lots of articles. And he's in a relationship with a couple of his real life, sex dolls, and they've got personalities and Twitter accounts or whatever. These are what is termed as robosexuals, right? Mm-hmm. People that want to have these relationships. It's like akin to, the man who married his cow or whatever, right? It's the fact that you can have a relationship with something that isn't necessarily a human. But back to robots. If you think about this, like, you can suddenly put all of your hopes and dreams and aspirations of what you want a partner to be into this object that's animated through the use of technology, and can speak to you, and eventually artificial intelligence can play a role in it. And it could actually be really, really good for society and really, really good for these people.
Well, on the flip side, though, there would be many, Nick, that might suggest that this is only going to further along their prevention into the ability of human connection. That, if they're only able to program a robot to be just to their liking, and that's who they're going to connect with, and they're not going to have any luck with humans.
Yeah, well, and these might be people that struggle anyway. And if they didn't have that robot, they might not want to connect with anyone else anyway. So I don't think it addresses like a societal problem in a negative way. I think it can really help. And, it can get really kind of screwy about what you want that person to be or not be or whatever. This sort of online sort of clickbaity piece of research even asked about child sex robots. And it was like, whoa.
Right.
And it's kind of screwy, right? Whenever there's an intent for that, abhorrent behavior, there's an intent. So it's not that it helps. This is people that are of that ilk. Are terribly terrible for society, and it's been around for hundreds of years. And really, you know, these people need a lot of help, and to be separated from those vulnerable populations, right? So it's this big debate, you know, but if you can go out and you can spend some of the more sophisticated sex, you know, quote unquote sex robots out there are thousands and thousands of dollars, and you buy them clothes and you do a whole bunch of stuff. And some people take them out for drives and restaurants and whatever. You know, it's just a way of being. Robosexuality, you know, I applaud people that want that. There's still the boundaries of what's right in the world in these situations, and respect as well. So are we going to have a situation in the next few years where it's a norm? I think that this is going to be an outlier behavior regardless. But if suddenly, you know, one of our kids or whatever like grows up and it falls in love with a robot that's sentient and you know is funny and whatever, then it's cool. And you know, we've seen this in Japan, the otaku, you know, the people that are obsessed with technology, they have like virtual smartphone-based girlfriends and a whole bunch of stuff. And it's really, really weird how technology comes into these more connective human parts of society, but it doesn't surprise me too much.
Could sex robots eventually replace human sex workers in the future? Like, could you see in the future there being cyber brothels?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, a couple of years ago, it was someone in, I think it was Barcelona, tried to do this, but then it was like shut down based on health and safety issues in terms of cleaning said robots and whatever. So you know, yes, I think that this is going to be absolutely available on that front. You know, and I think. You know, are we going to, you know, sex workers, you know, deserve the right to make a living and to express themselves. And I support that. You know, there's going to be the challenge now. It's like, will these robots be distracting people away from like a thoroughly human-based industry? So I think that's going to be an interesting thing to debate over the years.
Yeah. And part of that debate, I'm sure, if this were really to take off, is whether or not a sex robot or having sex with a sex robot qualifies as cheating.
Absolutely,
if
it
you're
could
in a relationship,
do, right?
obviously, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, and this has been widely debated, especially with these otaku that might have relationships with these other sentient computer programs on their iPhones or whatever, right? Yeah. It's absolutely, you know, emotional cheating, physical cheating, whatever, right? But then, you know, there's a big discussion there around what relationship style you want in the world.
Yeah, I wonder, like, who do you see getting ahead of this? Like, what or who would make this the norm? Who would be behind this? You know, because there would be a time where you'd say, hey, okay, you're not going to meet up with your friends, but what you're going to do is you're going to stay connected with them by going on the internet. You're going to have your own profile page. You're going to be able to write stuff on it, and people are just, instead of going to call you or text you or whatever, they're going to check out this page that you have on the internet, and that's pretty much going to tell them what you're up to, and you're going to post photos of it so anybody could see it. You know, there would be a time where we'd say that's never going to happen. Right. So it may be in a similar vein, this conversation would happen, but then someone comes along, creates Facebook, creates a social media platform where that does end up becoming the norm. Is there someone that's waiting in the wings that would normalize this?
You know, again, I sort of spoke about this being outlier behavior. Normalization means that it's happening pretty prevalently in society, like social media profiles and social media expression and influencers and whatever. Right. I don't think so. But like, if you look at some statistics and whatever, and I don't have any to hand, like, people that own sex toys, it's very healthy and it's incredibly good for people and couples to play together. And even this sort of strange little survey talked about, would you have a threesome with a sex robot? And hey, you know what? Like I sort of, you know, fly the freak flag and rock out, right? and it's all good. Will it be normalized? I think it will live in the category of sex toys, and would be normalized within that sphere and the people that want to enjoy that. And again, I say rock on if you want to do that kind of thing.
Check out NikolasBadminton.com. Futurist researcher, keynote speaker Nikolas Badminton. Appreciate it as always, my friend. We'll talk again.
Stay sexy, Jeff.